Hi, friends. Would you mind just taking a few minutes of your day to hear about something very important to Betty and I? Last year, we were introduced to Mackie's Place by trusted friends Tom and Teresa Knopfel. It was very eye-opening to us to hear about some of the experiences youth in our communities have to endure. When I consider our family, our support network, and those others who have supported our kids' lives, and then contrast that with what their lives would have been like without that support, I recognize that every kid is deserving of a healthy, committed family, in the same way that we were able to offer that to our kids. Unfortunately, there's many who do not have that. It's devastating to consider the what-ifs, but for the kids, their lives are filled with what-ifs. Mackie's Place is a safe place for them to consider many of the benefits of a family. People who have their best interests at heart, who see a hope for their future, whose goal it is to see them become productive citizens, which of course benefits all of us. We want to see this organization thrive, with support from those of us who are able to do so. Please listen to why we believe Mackie's Place is making a difference.
So why did we create Mackie's Place? Almost 10 years ago, a couple of crazy women had a big dream: to see young people in our communities have opportunities to realize their often unseen potential. Why? Because at one time, we were a couple of the kids whose lives were in the process of derailing. Me finding myself pregnant and alone as a young person, having the same reoccurring nightmare where I was rocking a baby alone in a dark room. I was terrified. I had vowed that I would not be a single mom like my mom, and there I was, about to embark on single motherhood. Faye was 15, living with a man, selling drugs, and having dropped out of high school. And along came two families in two young women's lives, two young women who had yet to meet one another and who lived across the country from one another. It was joy best for me and the Pegnuco family for Fave, who chose to love and take a chance on each of us, showing us new perspectives, offering contrast to our norms, and new possibilities for our lives. They stood with us faithfully. After almost 5 years of being a single mama, my son's dad and I, we grew up and we got engaged. We got the very best ending, or shall I say, beginning to our story. And there was Sweet Joy, still standing by my side, passing me a check to pay for my wedding dress as a reminder that provision is all around, and that in her words, I am lavishly loved. And because of the Pegnuco's love and faithfulness, Faye found herself on a Greyhound bus with a university degree on her way to a new life in BC. It would be 13 years later that the two of us would meet and the seeds of Mackie's Place would begin to be planted. And soon, the third musketeer, our beautiful Sylvia Shuri, would jump in with both feet filled with passion as she is. Sylv lit the flame as she shared her social equity and her reputation, which was just what we needed to see Mackie's Place be born. Now, when we started, what we knew was there was a crisis among youth in our cities, and that is still true today. So we opened a free coffee shop for youth to gather, knowing we were going to approach the cycle of poverty a little bit differently. Mackie's Place uses a model that moves away from solely providing relief. We recognize that when people are bleeding, someone needs to stop the bleeding. For example, if a hurricane hits or a house catches fire or there's a loss in a family, we all find ourselves in times of needing relief, and relief is good and it's necessary. But what happens to a culture when we provide relief when it's time for rehabilitation and development? The answer is that we create serviced cultures. This looks like dependency on social services for survival. This looks like disempowerment. This looks like shame. This looks like generational cycles of poverty. We've all seen the guy on the streets holding the sign, and we often find ourselves conflicted. So we decided that we would hire the guy on the street before he was the guy on the street.
So what does this approach look like tangibly? It's pretty simple, really. We feed kids, we employ kids, and we build meaningful connections into their lives. We apply relief when there is a need for relief by offering a safe and supportive environment and a warm home-cooked meal, like our 15-year-old who had wandered the streets all night, too afraid to fall asleep. So they waited for Mackie's Place to open so they could have something to eat and close their eyes safely. Or providing a warm meal for the kid whose parent is struggling in addictions and they haven't seen their parent or eaten for days. And we provide rehabilitation by offering opportunities for employment and job skills, like our 16-year-old who had dropped out of school. The police identified as a missing person because they were stuck in a trap house, and now they're living back at home, in school, working for us 3 days a week and thriving. And we provide development by offering opportunities for meaningful relationships. And this happens just side by side, working together in the dish pit, or sharing a meal, or serving their community together. It's the platform Mackie's Place offers. And what's the result of this? We see reciprocal relationships forming. Remember our homeless friend on the street holding a sign and us conflicted? Instead, we see young people becoming socially responsible citizens. They have a sense of ownership over their communities, their work, and their lives. And they've begun to give back. They're starting to show up for themselves and for others. And they start to see that a serviced life does not make a meaningful life. And we all start to see that we actually do have a part with dignity and hope in shaping our communities.
We started with one. And by the fall of 2023, we've grown into a beautiful family of just over 500 young people, hundreds of volunteers, and countless donors. And we have over 55 young people working 5 days a week over 5 different locations. This is some great growth we've seen since 2017. And can you imagine what scale we could achieve in another 10 years? If we, whether you're a donor or a volunteer or a young person, just keep showing up for one another. So, what is our big dream? It's simple, 24/7, 365 days a year for as long as it takes for every kid. Because these are our youth, these are our communities, and together this can be our story.
Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Can I ask you to join us in helping provide a better future for these kids, which in turn provides a better future for our communities? Betty and I have committed to supporting Mackie's Place because we believe so passionately in the work they're doing. We will be donating 10%, $170,000 of their annual budget of $1.7 million for this fiscal year. Could I ask you to consider joining us to support this worthy cause? Any donation will support funding for more kids. The link is attached to the email. Thanks again.